We learned this week that nobody ever again need feel bad about a reply all mishap in a work email chain.
We begin tonight with a stunning breach in national security involving the ongoing highly classified U.S. attacks targeting Houthi rebels in Yemen. The details reportedly discussed openly over a group chat on the unauthorized Signal app among members of President Trump's national security team. A journalist mistakenly invited to the group.
We learned, yes, that a cabal of extremely senior US officials had not only gathered on the messaging platform Signal, which they shouldn't have done, to discuss imminent military action, which they really shouldn't have done, but had somehow contrived to copy in the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, which, for the benefit of listeners unfamiliar with the elementary precepts of operational security, and a big hello to Vice President Vance, Secretaries Rubio and Hegseth, Directors Gabbard and Ratcliffe in the admittedly unlikely event that they're tuning in, is pretty much the last thing office holders should do in such circumstances. Prior to the eruption of this brouhaha, indeed, we had learned that there was nobody clearer on the need to rigorously observe the most minute tenets of operational security at all times and in all circumstances than Secretary Hegseth.
People we rely on to do dangerous and difficult things for us rely on one thing from us: that we will not reveal their identity and not be reckless with what the dangerous things they're doing for us. That's the national security implications of a private server that's unsecured.
Except maybe Director Ratcliffe.
It's always a good thing that we see that there is investigation and prosecution of folks if they're not handling that classified information
so let's see where that...
We learned, however, that it's all basically fine anyway, as it turns out that plans for imminent military action aren't actually classified. Seriously, just help yourselves. Which we learned from Director Gabbard, who, to be clear on this, has never given anyone the least reason to suspect that she has absolutely no idea what she's doing, whatever shabby insinuations may have been made by Senator Angus King of Maine.
Senator, I can attest to the fact that there were no classified or intelligence equities that were included in that chat group at any time.
So,
and I
so
defer...
the attack sequencing and timing and weapons and targets you don't consider should have been classified?
I defer to the Secretary of Defense, the National Security Council on that question.
We also learned that Director Ratcliffe has his eye firmly on the ball and thumb doggedly on the pulse, whatever treacherous subtext may have lurked in the questioning of Senator John Ossoff of Georgia.
They're talking about the timing of U.S. airstrikes, correct?
Yes.
Yes, and therefore the timing of sending U.S. air crews into hostile airspace, correct?
Yes.
And therefore the time period during which enemy air defenses could target U.S. air crews flying in enemy airspace, correct?
I don't know that.
And that Director Gabbard's legendary eye for detail is undimmed, regardless of the ignoble imputations of Congressman Jim Himes of Connecticut.
So it's your testimony that less than 2 weeks ago, you were on a Signal chat that had all of this information about F-18s and MQ-9 Reapers and targets on strike, and you in that 2-week period simply forgot that that was there. That's your testimony?
My testimony is I did not recall the exact details of what was included there.
The good news is... that we learned that reassurance was on offer for nervous allies of the steadfastness of American leadership, from Trumpist Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia, who met the press to demonstrate that the luminous values of the America that President Ronald Reagan described as a shining city on a hill still blaze brightly, the better to guide the free world.
Should the Defense Secretary...
What country are you? Wait, what country are you from?
From the UK.
Okay, we don't give a crap about your opinion and your reporting.
And we learned, as always, that the Commander-in-Chief was both on top of it and determined to get to the bottom of it.
I'm not a big fan of The Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I know nothing about it. You're saying that they had what?
They were using Signal to coordinate on sensitive materials and...
Having to do with what? Having to do with what? What were they talking about?
In fairness to the president, we learned that he had much more pressing concerns with which to be dealing.
President Trump's official portrait hanging in the Colorado State Capitol will be taken down tonight.
It comes one day after the president complained about this painting on social media, calling it distorted, and he demanded it to be removed.
We learned, yes, that the holder of Earth's most powerful office, thanks again 77,302,580 Americans, was vexed in extremis by a portrait of himself hung in the Colorado State Capitol building in Denver, exclaiming thus on social media, as will now be read by our perfectly sane and normal things for a grown adult human to get upset about desk chief Fernando Augusto Pacheco.
It is purposely distorted to a level that even I, perhaps, have never seen before. The artist also did President Obama, and he looks wonderful. But the one on me is truly the worst. She must have lost her talent as she got older. In any event, I would much prefer not having a picture than having this one. But many people from Colorado have called and written to complain. In fact, they're actually angry about it.
From which we appear to have learned that while his senior advisors were discussing committing American forces to action, the president was answering the phone to miffed art critics from the Centennial State, solemnly agreeing with them that the portrait made him look like some sort of portly, orange-skinned, weird-haired conman in a shapeless suit and an overlong tie. Not the first time he's complained about being framed, am I right? But sticking with the subject of cold-blooded swamp creatures, we learned that for the first time in Olympic history, rowing could shortly become a semi-interesting spectator sport. Incredible, but true. We learned that at the Brisbane Games of 2032, rowing events will actually be held in the settlement of Rockhampton, about a 7-hour drive away, or what Queenslanders call just down the street. We specifically learned that the rowing will occur on the stretch of the Fitzroy River which flows through Rockhampton, and we learned, although not the hard way, as one or two reckless, unwary and or drunk bathers have down the years, that the Fitzroy River is inhabited.
We had a large crocodile removed here last year, which we wanted removed so that people could recreate on the river without fear of having a human-crocodile interaction.
We, for one whimsical news monologue, believe, however, that the threat of what was there delicately termed a human-crocodile interaction would enliven the usually soporific spectacle of rowing no end and or lead to the setting of some record times. For Monocle Radio, I'm Andrew Mueller.